I refused to pay for my boyfriend's son's vacation after he said I'd never be his family. Now everyone's calling me petty. I, 42F, have been dating my partner Mark, 45M, for 3 years now. We met through mutual friends, and things were pretty easy between us at first. I have a daughter, Lily, 15, from a previous relationship. Mark has a son, Ethan, 19, who he shares custody of with his ex-wife. About a year ago, Mark moved in with me and Lily. We all live in my house. When Mark and I first started seeing each other, he was already divorced. According to everything he and others close to him have said, his marriage ended about a year before he even met me. So I had nothing to do with their split, but that hasn't stopped Ethan from blaming me for it. From the very beginning, Ethan has been cold and outright hostile toward me. He's accused me of stealing his dad, constantly makes passive-aggressive comments, and even referred to me as the reason his life went to hell. Once, about 2 years ago, he and his friends egged my car while it was parked outside my home. Mark confronted him, but the damage was already done, emotionally and physically. That kind of behavior is hard to forget. Despite all this, I try to keep the peace. I never punished Lily for anything Ethan did, and I tried not to speak ill of him in front of Mark. I understood that this was a painful situation for a young man whose family life had changed. I told myself he just needed time. But the situation only got harder after Mark moved in. Suddenly, Ethan had to deal with his dad fully committing to a life that included me and my daughter. And he did not take that well. Once Mark moved in, Ethan's behavior toward me grew more venomous. He would come to visit his dad and completely ignore me and Lily. No eye contact, no greetings. If I said hello, he'd just look through me like I wasn't there. If Lily tried to say something polite, he'd scoff or walk out of the room. I was ready to call it quits more than once. The tension in the house, whenever he was around, was suffocating. But I genuinely loved Mark, and I believed in the importance of trying. So instead of giving up, I suggested to Mark that he and Ethan take a short trip together, just the two of them. I hoped that some father-son bonding would help Ethan feel less displaced and maybe create room for honest conversations. To Mark's credit, he agreed. They went away for a weekend together, did some hiking, and apparently had some long talks. I was optimistic. Maybe this would be the turning point. When they came back, Ethan pulled me aside. For a moment, I thought he might apologize or say something conciliatory. Instead, he looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You're not my family. You never will be. I'll be civil, but don't expect anything from me." Then he turned around and left the room. It stung, but at least he was being honest. Since then, Ethan has kept his word. He visits sometimes to see his dad, but he doesn't interact with me or Lily. We stay out of his way. He stays out of ours. No drama, no words, just this cold wall of distance. I didn't like it, but I accepted it. I respected his boundary. What more could I do? Fast forward to this spring. I've been planning a family trip to Florida for the summer. Nothing extravagant, just a few days at the beach and a theme park or two. It's something Lily and I have been looking forward to, and I wanted Mark to be part of it too. So I booked a hotel and started making a list of activities we'd enjoy as a family. One evening, while going over the plans with Mark, he suggested that we invite Ethan. I was a little taken aback. Ethan's made it clear he wants no part of our family, but I told Mark I didn't mind, as long as either he or Ethan paid for his airfare. I wasn't being spiteful. It's just that I didn't want to spend a few $100s on someone who has actively rejected me and my daughter. Mark said he couldn't afford it. Ethan doesn't have a job and still relies on his dad for most things, so it wasn't likely he'd pay his own way either. A few days later, Ethan caught wind of the trip and reached out to me. The first time he's initiated a conversation in over a year. He said, "If you really wanted to fix things, you'd pay for me to go. That's what adults do. They make things right." I was stunned. Fix things? I'd been on the receiving end of his resentment, disrespect, and outright hostility for years. He had told me, in no uncertain terms, that I wasn't family and shouldn't expect anything from him. So I calmly replied, "Ethan, I'm not going to pay to fly you to Florida. You told me yourself that I'm not your family. I respected that boundary. If you or your dad want to pay for your trip, you're welcome to come. But I owe you nothing." He left me on read. Since then, the backlash has been intense. Ethan apparently told his mom and some extended family members, and now I'm being painted as petty, immature, and cruel. A few people have messaged me, people I've never even met, to say that I should be the adult and make the effort to mend the family. Even Mark, while not angry, has told me he's disappointed. He says this could have been a chance to show Ethan that I care, that I'm willing to meet him halfway, even when he hasn't done the same. But I'm tired. I've been over backward for years, and every time I try, Ethan either spits in my face or slams the door. I've never retaliated. I've never insulted him. I've simply backed off and let him have the space he claimed he needed. Paying for a vacation is not going to magically heal all of this. If anything, it would just reinforce the idea that he can treat me with total disregard and still be rewarded for it. And what does that say to Lily? She's watched this whole thing unfold. She's seen how I've tried, how I've bitten my tongue, and how I've been disrespected anyway. I don't want to teach her that loving someone means accepting mistreatment. Still, I keep second-guessing myself. Maybe I should be the bigger person. Maybe paying for one ticket isn't such a big deal in the grand scheme of things. Maybe this is the olive branch Ethan needs. But then I think respect has to go both ways. And right now, I don't think Ethan has earned that kind of gesture. So, Ida,